everybody.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Our intros just keep getting steadily weirder.
Yep.
Yes, hello. Today is Monday, July...
the 29th.
29th. It is day 8. We figured this out yesterday that we were counting the days...
Since our first video. Which was the day before.
Right,
so.
as opposed to the days after the surgery. So, day 8 of the videos. It is technically 1 week after we had the surgery, so yay! We did
1 week anniversary, yay! God, I sound like one of those really clingy junior high type of people.
Or like
1 week anniversary! Oh my God, we're soulmates. Okay, anyway.
Or like a 30-year-old, I don't know. Some 30-year-olds be doing that too, I don't know.
Really? Oh, God.
Anyway, so we have some kind of exciting stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Apologies in advance if this is a long video, but we're very excited because we went to the nutritionist this morning, as we mentioned in the previous video.
Yep.
We saw the nutritional expert at Huntington Hospital. Her name is Crystal.
And she is amazing.
She's awesome. She's very knowledgeable. She's also very honest and in a way that feels both supportive but not ass-kissy.
Right.
Like, she's very forthcoming about, like, guys, I don't know if you can really do that, or, you know, that sounds like a good option, but here's some drawbacks, or here's some questions that you might want to ask yourself.
Yeah, like, a lot of times she'll be like, I'm not sure that's too much of a good idea until blah, right? You know, instead of being like, you're going to try what?
Or just like, sure, try. Like, you know, instead of being
it's kind of
overly...
like, oh yeah, try it. And it's kind of like, cha-ching. No,
So, just to remind everybody, phase 1 of the post-surgery diet was basically the 2 days that we spent in the hospital.
Day 1 and 2, yep.
And now we're in phase 2, which is basically clear liquids and protein.
Right.
You know, our stomachs are still healing, so we're trying to ensure that we get everything back to where it's can function as it should.
Right.
And then from there, we'll go into phase 3, which we'll talk about a little bit.
Yeah.
And phase 4 and 5, we'll talk about a little bit. But right now, our days, I think we've mentioned this before also, basically consist of protein supplement drinks, water, and occasionally we'll supplement in something like chicken broth, sugar-free Jell-O, sugar-free popsicles.
Crystal Light, that type of stuff.
So because of this structure that we have to do, it's been very specific about what we need to do. So every 2 hours, we have a new set of drinking instructions. So basically every hour, we need to consume 4 ounces of some kind of liquid.
Right.
And whether that be, protein supplements, water, juice, which we didn't mention before. But anyways, there's always something going in our mouths.
Yep.
Pause. Okay, so it's been a very, I would say, very easy thing to keep up.
Yeah.
That being said, I do have at least
one and
a half
cups
times of supplements that I need to take. So
yeah.
I'm doing really well. But it's been really easy, I think, because it's so rigid. You know, it's basically they've given us a sample schedule of what it can look like, and we've basically been following the sample schedule.
Yeah. No need to fix what's not broken. Vitamins and minerals started today. So, you know, we've both found that the Flintstones chewables that were tasting one way before the surgery have now changed to tasting a different way.
I'm back to not liking them again.
I was gonna say, I'm still okay with them. He hates them.
I don't.
Well, you don't hate them.
Yeah, but they're not as good as they used to be.
Yeah,
before
I mean, he's not gonna have Dino's head like hanging from the front door of the house for when the Flintstones get home, but. You know, he's not exactly gonna invite him over for dinner either.
I'm just saying, it tastes like a trunk full of
chalk
of Mastodon water. You know how they used to shower with the Mastodon? Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah.
It's not very pleasant.
No.
But, you know, it's pretty essential to what we need in terms of our health. So I got to do it.
Yeah.
And it's been great too, because we did the sublingual, meaning under your tongue, B12. That did not dissolve very easily.
Yeah, because usually when you think sublingual, you're like, oh, I'm going to put it under there. It's going to, get a little chalky, and then I'm going to like swish around my spit, and then it'll be gone. This sucker, I mean, I don't know if it's just I'm not producing that much spit, or whatever, but it's like, I mean, he was there for a good long while, and I was like, you know what, screw it, I'm swallowing this sucker.
Just chew it up and swallow it.
Yeah, so
and the other supplement we're taking,
calcium.
It's Caltrate brand.
Yep.
Again, not sponsored. Caltrate brand, calcium and D3. And the calcium supplement comes in a chewable, individually packaged, chocolate truffle flavored
little nugget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it's delicious.
Yeah. It's really good.
It's really delicious. Like,
I mean, it's crazy.
Like, how you incentivize dogs to take pills by stuffing it into, like, lunch meat or something like that?
Wrap it up and something.
It's that, but chocolate truffle.
Right.
Which is mostly the only sugar we're getting right now anyway, so...
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably not even really that high in sugar content anyway.
Probably not.
But the point is, it's been very easy to take that the one time we had to, and then we have to take it once before we go to bed.
Right. So calcium 2 times a day, B12 once a day. The two cannot mix.
And so you can't take them all at once, which is something that we had drilled into our heads when we first started.
You can't take all of them at once, because some of your vitamins and minerals kind of counteract each other. So you need to keep everything separate. And so, the multivitamins were up to 3 a day, and then B12 in the morning, and then, calcium twice, kind of once at, afternoon snack dinner-ish type of time frame, and then one right before we go to bed. So, just that little taste of sweetness right before bed.
It'll be nice.
It'll be great.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
And again, that comes from a sample scale.
Sorry.
Shout out Monique.
Shout out to Monique Card.
But that's, we're just following a sample schedule. Like, we didn't create these these time frames or these, specific times for ourselves. We are just
it was all provided by the hospital. It's basically the kind of brainchild of both our surgeon as well as the nutritionist for the hospital.
Right.
So, I mean, we weren't like, okay, this is how we're going to plan this out.
We are not mad scientists, in other words. That's just not.
So.
What was it? From the Animaniacs? It's Pinky in the Brain.
No. No, I'm Pinky.
Why are you Pinky?
I was just off the wall and just... foolish.
Can you do the voice?
No.
Brain!
What are we doing tonight, Brain?
That's the same thing we do every night, Pinky.
Tried to take over the world. All right.
That's coming back to Hulu. Did you know that?
Oh,
they're making
dear
new episodes?
God. Okay.
I'm excited. Anyways, so we're currently in phase 2. It's pretty much all liquids. We went in there today with a laundry list of questions, as we mentioned in the last video. One of the things that we really specifically wanted to talk about was the fact that we're still hungry.
Yeah.
And, it's not a dull, I'm bored hunger, because that's one of the things that we both identified as the kind of eaters that we are. We tend to be boredom eaters. We tend to be stress eaters. It's not that. It's an actual hunger, gnawing at your gut, or what little of our guts are left.
Right.
So we went in there to ask, basically in this phase, which is all liquids, basically protein and water and maybe a couple of other things, what can we do to address the hunger? And all that Crystal said was just drink more protein.
Yeah, because basically for phase 2, for phase 2, you're supposed to get about 60 to 70 grams of protein per day. Okay? And you're supposed to be at about 64 fluid ounces of fluids coming in. Okay, so the great thing is that, since you're doing a protein shake or a protein drink like we are, the the protein doubles up as a fluid, right? So that's great. But the thing is that the isopures that we're taking are 40 grams of protein per bottle, right? And we talked about this before that, that's less than what the Frosty Chocolate Hell that we were doing, is like 35 grams of protein per can, right? So, basically, we end up kind of roughly doing the math with her, and she's like, it sounds as though you're probably, like 10 to 20 short, of the 60 goal. She's like, you shore that up, you'll be good. And we're like, okay, because honestly, she hasn't steered us wrong yet. So, so the thing is, we're upping our protein intake a little bit. I had an extra quarter of a cup, for lunch, and that should be enough to kind of...
Well, and then we added 4 ounces and another 4 ounces to go with our juice.
Yeah.
So instead of just doing water during those 2 times, we're actually doing extra protein during those times to make up for it.
Yeah. And so the thing is that, we should come in between the 60 and the 80 perfectly fine. So we're going to see how that handles with the hunger. Unfortunately, we won't be able to say probably with absolute certainty whether it's, it was just the protein or it's the vitamins and minerals that are now coming in. Most likely, though, it's going to be the protein.
Yeah.
It keeps you fuller longer. So,
I think there were 2 other exciting additions that we can make to our phase 2, which again, we started this past Thursday. It goes for 2 weeks. So we're on this for almost a full 2 weeks. So we were kind of asking her, one, how do we deal with the hunger? But then the other big question for phase 2 was, what other things can we sort of sub in to establish more variety? Because honestly, we're already kind of at the end with some of the choices that we...
Yeah.
So what else can we do? And 2 things for me that were exciting was, one, we can start adding barley tea.
There's no caffeine.
No caffeine because you were just boiling the barley itself. So it's, no caffeine added, nothing, no natural caffeine.
Yeah, she's kind of like, it's basically a non-caffeinated herbal tea type of situation. So she's like, have at it.
So we're excited about that.
Yep.
Gonna go to the Korean grocery store and get some. And then the other thing was, at this stage, we are pretty much out of the woods in terms of damage to our stomachs from liquids. And so... we were asking, because we had been watching all these other videos on YouTube, what if we added different broths to the mix that have more spices in them, that have more interesting things flavoring them? And she basically said, as long as you strain the broth so there are no solids in it and it's not a thick soup, go for it.
Yeah, she's like,
whatever
just go
you
wild.
So Adam and I spent part of today and part of last night looking up recipes for different soups that we can do. I specifically wanted to do Asian soups because I feel like
they're good and flavorful.
Asian soup is the best soup in the world. So, no.
I know offense, Campbell's, but what? Anyway.
Oh, no.
Exactly.
I would 100% take, I don't know, a wonton noodle soup over Campbell's Chunky anything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was joking.
Oh.
Well, that's embarrassing.
We're doing well. Okay.
But communication.
I think communication. But I think it's great because it opens up this wide net that we can cast now in terms of the kinds of soups. So yes, we looked up a wonton noodle soup. We looked up some fancy or chicken broths that have more veggies in them.
Right.
And more aromatics like garlic and ginger and green onions, and we looked at beef broths, and it's really exciting because that will definitely help satiate both our hunger and our, sort of need for some diversity amongst the different kinds of soups that we're eating. But also, honestly, it will help me as a person who is like a little stir crazy, and I'm like, I need to cook something. Yeah. I need putting chicken broth to boil is not enough every day.
Yeah, that's not cooking. Yeah. No, and that's the other great thing is that, we're hoping anyway that what we can end up doing is, we can make these soups, obviously, and then, we'll probably keep most of the broth to ourselves. But, the solid bits, after everything is said and done, we're hoping to have, our friends come by, and kind of take those off our hands so that we're not wasting any of it.
Right.
And so, honestly, I'm kind of hoping and / looking forward to, perhaps having, a freaking soup kind of dinner party.
That's
Get
fun.
just get the soup, going, get a bowl for everybody, strain out some, stock just for us, and then just be able to freaking eat with everybody, and it's kind of like, we aren't gonna have the solid bits, but it's like we taste that base, so we know what's there,
right.
And so and it's it's another thing that we can kind of do to basically just entice our our friends a little bit. It's like, really, you don't have to kind of shy away and be like eating kind of covered up and everything. No, it's it's perfectly fine. Here, we'll even cook for you. So
and just some other things that we learned today, just in terms of what's coming, because a lot of the questions that we had, because we're watching all of these, food videos, we're watching cooking videos, we're specifically, gastric sleeve patient videos where they're cooking stuff, but they're further along in these phases than we are. We wanted to ask about some very specific things about what, we can look forward to, because I think that will also help us get through some of this madness. So I know that one of the things that you were specifically excited to ask about was coffee.
This is true. The answer was not good, y'all. Basically it's a surgeon question. Basically she was like, the earliest that it kind of shows up in a lot of the nutrition planning and everything is 2 months in. Some people it takes 4 months. She did, however, because Crystal loves to honestly just shoot straight with us, she's like, there are people that go in and they talk to the surgeon at 1 month in and they're like, I can't go without it. Oh my God. And, and they try it and their stomach is okay with it. Honestly, since I've been off of it for so long, right now I'm okay. The vitamins and everything have been kind of helping with mental clarity. I, started back on my training today. So, my tune may change in 2 weeks when I go back to work. I could get there and be like, y'all tire me out,
Well, that was true before you got off coffee.
I know. Yeah. And so, talk about mentally exhausting. It's like I run a daycare. Anyway, so, my tune may change a little bit and I may find myself being that guy at 1 month in and being, like, oh, doctor, please. I need my coffee, So we'll see. One of the other exciting things that I'll share real quick is, Crystal kind of made mention that she was like, I don't necessarily want you guys to like fear, eating foods, like you're gonna, blow a gasket or something,
like we're a steam engine.
Yeah, like we're just gonna throw a rod or something, and so which we might. But anyway,
throw a rod. Is that a?
No, it's a real thing.
It doesn't have any
sexual connotation.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah.
Okay, but you were not referring it. You weren't saying it because it wasn't a sexual connotation.
Yeah, I was. Communication. But yes.
Doing well.
So no, so the great thing is that, I told her flat out, I said, well, one of the things that honestly is kind of scaring the living crap out of both of us.
And that we've talked about on past videos.
We've talked about on here, is dumping syndrome, and kind of like, should we switch to sugar alternatives to kind of combat that and everything? And she was like, It might help, but dumping syndrome doesn't usually apply to sleeve patients. It only applies to bypass patients. And I'm like, mind blown, folks. Yeah, and like I went online, and it turns out that bypass patients are 10 times more likely to experience, dumping syndrome than sleeve patients. So it's not to say that it can't happen, but
statistically not
very likely. The main reason why is, from what I can gather, is the stomach pouch that they end up creating for you during the bypass. The part of the small intestine that they kind of hook up to that pouch is the way out. I don't believe it necessarily has that great of a valve on it. And so the problem with that is, the saving grace for us is that because we did the sleeve, our pyloric valve, which is the one that connects your stomach into your small intestine, is completely intact. It's completely there, perfectly fine, functioning just as it always has. And so, yeah, when she mentioned that, I was like, oh, thank God.
Great relief.
Yeah,
Great
because, that makes it to where we're not kind of really tiptoeing through a minefield. Like, we're still obviously going to, watch what we, eat and everything, but it's not one of those where it's like, oh, you ate that one wrong thing and now you're in pain for 30 to 60 minutes,
I mean, we still could be. Listen,
we still could be.
There's...
And if we do experience it, y'all be the first to know.
There's plenty of times, there's plenty of food that we can still get very sick off of.
Correct.
And two of the things that I'm sort of the most sad about that will come later in the process are pasta and bread. Mm-hmm. That's basically after phase 5, which is the last phase of our eating, mm-hmm. which is also just like the caffeine, 2 to 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 months out. Mm-hmm. It really just depends on how advanced we're getting. And unfortunately, Crystal was like, the only way you can really tell is once you pass through that phase where it's acceptable, then you just kind of experiment and see what happens. If you take a bite of a piece of pasta that far into the thing, hopefully your body doesn't react poorly. Right. Hopefully it's more just about like, oh, that made me really full really fast. It should be more about that than like, this is not okay and you can't have this anymore. Right. I'm hoping. Right. Little side note on that. I specifically was like, what about noodle soups? What about stews mm-hmm. that are both liquid and solid? Because we were definitely told, do not mix liquids and solids after you get to a certain phase. Yeah. Because, as Adam has mentioned before, liquids will make the food that is currently in your stomach expand, and that will cause you pain. So it's really crucial to make sure that you separate those two things. But what happens when you have something like ramen? Mm-hmm.
Or pho.
Mm-hmm. What happens when you get to these points, kalguksu? Like, what happens mm-hmm. when you get to these sort of like in-between ones? And basically, all Crystal said was, you just have to try and figure it out for yourself. Yeah. Because for some people, it will affect them negatively, and you will basically just be able to eat the solids and then take the soup home with you and eat that later. Mm-hmm. For other people, it's okay, in small amounts. And so it really will just depend on where we're at. But I have to say, I have not eaten my last bowl of ramen. I have not eaten my last bowl of pho. Oh. I have not eaten my last bowl of kalguksu. So I will keep y'all updated on what's going on. But literally, if I cannot have any of those soups, I will be so sad. Yeah. I will be so gravely disappointed. It is so devastating to know that, like, my ramen days are over. My kalguksu days are over. My pho days are over.
I still think it's going to be worst case scenario. I'm going to eat the solids and then take the broth home. Yeah. and just have it 30 to 60 minutes afterwards.
Yeah.
I think that's honestly going to be the worst case scenario.
I hope so. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm optimistic
We'll see.
about it. I'm not
yeah.
saying no. I'm just saying I'm optimistic about it.
Yeah.
One of the other things that we've come across in terms of, Adam touched on it briefly, but, these alternatives, like sugar alternatives, butter alternatives, milk alternatives. One of the things that we talked to Crystal about was basically like, do we need to be investigating these things for ourselves?
Right.
Because
Right.
it seems like a lot of people on these, videos online who have had the sleeve surgery and who are talking about what they're eating are replacing a lot of the actual products with alternatives.
Mm-hmm.
So how deeply do we need to be looking into that? And one of the things that Crystal said was they're probably counting calories.
Right.
Which is one of the main and maybe only reasons to really switch from the actual thing to these alternatives.
Yeah, because that's the thing is they're usually lower in calories, like, or one of the other things that she brought up is that sometimes after post surgery folks develop like lactose intolerance. It's kind of like
Another thing we learned today.
Switch to almond milk or whatever. But the main other reason to switch to some of these other alternatives is just lower calorie intake. She's like, you may get to a point where you're say 30 pounds off your target weight, and you're like, I'm eating this and I'm exercising this amount, and it's like I still can't get this weight off. And so the great thing with the surgery is that it even makes it even more apparent that like you have effectively two factors to play with. You have your food and you have your exercise. That's it. And so people start switching up what they're eating and everything. I think for right now, like when phase 3 starts, probably going to try some milk, if it ends up not a good situation, then, I'll probably be, kind of, well, I don't take milk in my coffee anyway, but, if I end up doing something else, I'll be like, well, can I have it with almond milk or soy milk or whatever?
I think, too, like, because I grew up on skim and 1% milk.
Yep, same here.
Non-fat milk. So it is basically milk water.
Yeah.
It's not anything.
All right, let's call it what it is, folks.
I mean, it's you can see through it sometimes.
Pretty much.
So, like, but honestly, I'm mostly excited in the next phase to use this new tool that we bought today that a lot of chefs use, which is an immersion blender.
Yep. It's already shipped, folks.
It's already shipped?
Yep.
Oh, shit. Well, maybe coming soon. But the immersion blender basically blends everything. It has multiple settings, but it can blend it fine enough that we can use it in the next phase. Not this clear liquids phase,
Right.
but, next when we're going into more advanced soups, more
Right.
creamier soups.
Right.
And I think that will help with certain other things. Like, I specifically was like, I love couscous. When can we have couscous? Because it's a grain. It's not necessarily, as glutinous as like rice, for example, which is also phase 5. That makes me sad. But, like in the description, in the examples of some of the grains that we can have, really, really, really well-cooked grits.
Right.
So how different is couscous, really well-cooked couscous from really well-cooked
Right.
grits? But, Crystal was like, use the immersion blender and just make sure that it's really finely, ground up. Couscous. So that's exciting. And also one of the other things that we can do that makes me very excited is I love to make, in Chinese or like American, it's called congee or rice porridge. There's... oh my gosh, I'm getting so excited that I have to stop and pause for a moment. But in Korean, it's called juk. And there's a lot of different kinds of juk, but specifically dakjuk, which is chicken rice porridge.
It's so good.
It's really good for you when you're sick, especially because it's got a crap ton of garlic in it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you're sick or being chased by a vampire, that juk
Juk.
Yeah, that
dak
joke
juk.
is for you.
Dak juk. Yeah. But there's also like segogi juk, which is beef porridge. Like, there's like pumpkin porridge and black sesame porridge. There's so many different abalone porridge. There's so many different kinds of porridge. You can literally put anything you want in it. But the point is, Crystal was saying that you could make that and then just use that immersion blender to make it really finely ground. So that's exciting too, because again, we're sort of starving now for diversity in flavor and texture and everything. And so, as a lot of people have noted, once you get past the first phase after the hospital, you're literally want whatever you can get.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what the food is or what form it comes in, you just want it. And so we've seen people like take refried beans and like stir fry them in a pan until they are a sort of gross looking paste. But honestly, I think we're kind of getting to that point where it's like we will literally eat whatever we can once we get to that stage.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that, like I had a friend of mine that, she was like, oh, it's going to be kind of like whenever, folks do like a juice cleanse and then they have like that first meal and they're kind of like, oh my God, this is the best thing that, they've ever tasted.
I mean, this essentially is kind of a
It is honestly
cleanse.
kind of like a cleanse. But yeah, so, we're looking forward to phase 3. One of the questions that I have for the surgeon tomorrow, is kind of like basically figuring out if there's a way that we can tell that our bodies are ready for whatever, like comes next. And I anticipate the answer being, either follow the schedule or, try it out and see how it goes.
Adam just want to know when he can have spits again.
This is also true.
We are not watching a TV show because we used to watch that TV show while we ate spits.
This is true. Though I will start watching it again.
Will you?
When I can get spits. I'm just kidding. but yeah, so that's pretty much it. We had a lot of great questions answered today.
Also, I think I got some color yesterday.
Yeah, you did. I'm still white as a ghost. But yeah, so the good thing is that we see the surgeon tomorrow. We're going to get additional orders for, the nutritionist so that we can continue to see her. Most likely as we kind of go into these, into another phase, we'll see her kind of, either probably like immediately before, and just kind of like get the lay of the land, of kind of what we're going to be doing. And then, after that, just kind of go forth and conquer. So yeah, look forward to tomorrow's video because, it'll be 1 week post-op visit with our surgeon. Hopefully we'll get all these freaking steri strips off of us.
The creepy baby.
Oh my God. And then, and then we'll have, more information from him. And, we'll just,
I think the other exciting thing is tomorrow we get to basically confirm our weight because we did weigh in at the nutritionist office today. But my goal is to weigh myself once a week because I don't want to become obsessed with the weight as a number. Eventually we're going to plateau at some point anyway. So to me, just for my own, the way my own psychology works, I know that if I start weighing myself more frequently, I will get obsessed with that number. Right. So I'm excited to go in tomorrow. I was weighed in before the surgery, and I honestly do not remember what it was. Yeah. So I'm excited to go in, see what that is, weigh myself tomorrow, and see how much I've lost.
Right.
Because I think at this point, I can already feel like clothes getting looser, as I mentioned yesterday, and just feeling a little bit different in my own skin. And, I'm excited to see how that turns out. Yeah. I think that it's, again, not the only goal of getting the surgery to lose weight, but it's certainly one of them. And I think that the more we can be rewarded for these, you know, sort of extreme diets that we're on and the behaviors that we're having to change, I think the better. So I'm very much looking forward to figuring out how much weight we've lost so far. You know, it's only been a week, literally a week. Right. So I think, you know, it's the start of a very exciting journey, and I'm excited to see like how it continues. But journey, I said it. Yeah, that's the journey.
Yep. Quest on, folks.
Quest on.
I don't know. Flame on. Quest on. I don't freaking know.
Quest on sounds like a diabolical corporation from an Animaniacs episode.
Okay. Yeah.
Quest on. All right. We'll talk to y'all tomorrow.
Quest on.
Laters.
Bye.